Hey, welcome back. This is Joe from HomeStudioCorner.com. We're moving on to the audio tab under the advanced section of Studio One preferences. And real quickly, we're just going to blow through these to show you what they have to do with and why you'd want to engage with them or have them disengaged. So play overlapping events. That means if you have let's say you have a lead vocal and the last note that he sings, he holds out a big long note. And let's say he sang it a little late. And so you want to move that back in time. Well, if you move it back and you have this play overlapping events enabled, then if say you move it back about a half a second, then you'll hear the vocal singing, but you'll also hear the underlying previous audio, the him taking a breath before that big vocal. They'll both play at the same time. That's typically not a good idea. Now, in some cases, maybe it is. Maybe you need... if it's a drum hit and you need both the cymbals and the kick drum to sound together when you line them up and they're overlapping for some reason, sometimes you want that to happen, but generally I have that disabled. Use non-buffered audio file access. Don't know what that means. You can look in the manual. A lot of this, use the cache for this stuff is kind of stuff I just leave alone and leave it where it is. Record tempo information to audio files. I have this disabled. I'm not creating loops or Rex files where I need, when I send a vocal to somebody, it has the tempo of that underlying audio embedded in the audio itself. Because if they import that into a session at a different tempo, I think, the way I understand it, is that vocal will be kind of like when you import a drum loop into a session and it matches the tempo of that session. Well, in that case, the vocal will match to the tempo of that session, which will mean the vocal will be faster or slower than it was actually recorded. So I'd rather not have that happen. If you're in the business of just creating loops all the time, then this is a great setting. Otherwise, I'd leave it off. Use dithering for audio file devices and audio file export, or audio devices. I have this enabled. Now, you can get dither plugins that you can manually select and turn dither on and off. I'd rather not worry about it. Yes, there's lots of things you can learn about dither. Essentially, dither just means when you go from higher resolution, 32 or 24-bit, down to anything lower, you need a little bit of noise in there to make up for some issues of chopping off those bits. And used to be you had to add a plugin to do that. Well, now you can just click this and it'll automatically happen for you in the background. No more dithering plugins. That makes me happy. Use real-time processing to update mastering files. So when you're finished with the song and you're adding it to a project where you're going to do the mastering, you can select this to always do that in real time as opposed to offline bounce. I have it off because I'm lazy and like things to happen quickly. Stop playback when opening options. This is kind of cool. Let's say you're working on a mix and it's playing and you're listening and you remember, oh yeah, Joe said that thing about overlapping events. I want to go turn that off. Well, you can open options, and in most systems they won't even let you open the options without stopping playback. Well, this gives you the option to do that. And it's just kind of nice to be able to go change a setting without losing your place in the mix. Release audio device in background. I believe this means allow the computer to use your audio interface for other tasks in addition to Studio One. I just left it alone. I haven't seen any reason to change it. Process audio in safe mode for higher latency. That's something to play around with if you're having issues. I just lost it. If you're having issues with performance, you can do this and it'll give you a higher amount of latency, but then the performance and the popping and clicking that may be happening might go away. And then pre-record audio input. This is essentially the same thing as if you've ever used, what's it called in Pro Tools? Quick Punch, where you can quickly punch in different sections. If you've never seen this before, when you record that vocal that you punched in, if you happen to hit the punch in button a little bit late, it's actually recording all of that audio underneath. So you can slide that edge back and capture that part that you missed by pressing it too late. This allows you to do the same thing. So if I'm punching in a guitar solo and I accidentally hit the record button after the first beat of that bar where he comes in, this will have it essentially record the 5 seconds prior to when I hit that record button. So it's kind of always recording a little bit before you start recording. So if you miss the punch in, you can drag that back and not lose the whole take. Very cool feature. I recommend always having that enabled. Okay, that's it for the audio setup. We're going to skip over MIDI because I don't do anything really with any of this MIDI stuff. We'll jump on devices and then we'll be done. Thanks for watching. See ya.